It's been 5 years since the destruction of the mobile crawler at Adams Air Force Base, and the defeat of the United States of America against the forces of the Brotherhood of Steel, and with it, the end of the last hope of our once glorious nation. It is with great regret that I've decided to record this in order to ensure that the history of our nation is not lost. October 23rd, 2077. The day that the Great War started and ended. It would destroy most of human civilization. The United States, however, survived, with those deemed worthy and needed to ensure that the nation would endure whatever would come. My ancestors retreated to Control Station Enclave, an old-world deep-sea drilling platform used by the Poseidon Energy Corporation to drill one of the last oil deposits in the Pacific, though it was not the only refuge used by the US government. For decades we would bide our time on board our seaboard platform, our Noah's Ark, if you will. On board the CSE, we had access to everything we needed: hydroponics for food, the most advanced manufacturing equipment in the world, and some of the best scientific facilities known to man even before the war. When we finally revealed ourselves 200 years later and turned our gaze back to our nation, we found it infested with mutants and other horrors of the wasteland. A once beautiful homeland had been reduced to a charred corpse. We had not spent our time in isolation sitting on our thumbs. We'd put our scientists and engineers to work on improving our already advanced technologies to ensure that no enemy of the state would ever pose a threat to us. Before we left the mainland, we had collected a number of important technologies and schematics, such as the experimental XO-1 power armor suit and advanced plasma weaponry. Our best and brightest would spend decades improving and refining these designs into their final form. After the election of President Dick Richardson, these projects finally saw their completion, such as with the advanced XO-2 power armor suit. And with these feats of American engineering, we would set out from our fortress to secure numerous new bases on the mainland and contact various other bases established before the war. The wasteland, filled with mutated horrors, also held great opportunities. President Richardson ordered the creation of a new project, one where the Deathclaw, a massive creature of teeth and claws, would be trained and augmented to support our frontline troops. Some years later, we would come to a breakthrough in our research. We discovered the Mariposa military base, and the Chemical Corps were sent in to search the base while the rest of us rounded up the mutants in the area. We would use these mutants to aid in our excavation crews to clean up the base. Unfortunately for the mutants, we had not given them the protection suits that were offered to Enclave personnel, and slowly they began to mutate even more. The FEV we had been looking for had been seeping out of its containers and coated the insides of the facility. It would take almost a year before we found the pure sample that we were looking for. When we moved to eradicate the mutants that we'd been using to excavate the base, the massive green brutes attacked us. Apparently they had been stashing away weapons in anticipation of this move. Horribly outnumbered, we evacuated the base and sealed it behind us, trapping the creatures inside. Though it was not an easy task, and many of our troops fell to the horrid beasts. We did get what we came for though, and the pure sample of FEV could be modified and used as a weapon against the mutants, allowing us to simply return to the continent without a single shot having to be fired. Not all of us had come out of Mariposa unscathed, however. Frank Horrigan, one of the first Secret Service members to discover the base, would come to be infected by the virus shortly after his discovery. He was taken back to the rig, and every test known to man was performed on him. When the eggheads were finally done with the poor guy, they locked him inside a massive suit of power armor, turning him from a big green angry brute into a far stronger and far more angry green brute. As surprised as the rest of us were when Horrigan returned to active duty, few complained, and those who did, never did again. Frank was a dangerous man even before the mutation, but after, there was nothing that could stand in his way. A one-man killing machine. We did run into a number of problems with our plan, however. We lacked some of the necessary chemicals to fully synthesize the virus. So, we contacted some of the few people who could actually make it. One of the sleazy mutant crime syndicates in New Reno, the Salvatores. In exchange for laser pistols, they would give us what we need to finally reclaim our nation. With our supply sorted out, we now needed something to test the new weapon on, and to make sure that it didn't kill any true-blooded Americans. And so we opened one of the nearby vaults and took the inhabitants to the rig. Me and a few of the others were conflicted, as they were supposed to be clean from mutation, having spent nearly 200 years locked in a vault. But we did our job, and we cleaned the place out. When we were done, we placed some of the eggheads' pet projects in the vault to ensure that no nosy explorer would ever find our involvement with the disappearance of the dwellers. A whole pack of intelligent deathclaws were placed in the vault, and a large amount of them released into the surrounding desert. At the same time, we also captured a tribe of mutants from some obscure village to the north called Arroyo. Unfortunately for us, we would miss the one person who would be the cause of our undoing. The so-called Chosen One, as the mutants called him, had left the village not long before our arrival. At the time, we didn't notice. A fatal mistake. After we brought the dwellers and the mutants back to the rig and tested the modified FAV with a promising 99.5% efficiency and a staggering 250,000 gallons produced, the Chosen One somehow infiltrated the rig and assassinated the president, and set the self-destruct, and killed Frank Horrigan in less than a few hours. He also managed to free the dwellers and the mutants, and escaped on an oil tanker that they had arrived on. With most of our senior leadership destroyed, the few of us who managed to get off the oil rig in time fled to Navarro, where we regrouped with the rest of the mainland teams. Now numbering almost 500 members strong, we still lacked the numbers and supplies to pursue any types of major offensives. It wasn't long before Autumn Sr., a scientist at the base, was contacted by the President John Henry Eden, and was told to evacuate Navarro and take as many Enclave personnel with him east to the capital region. Most of us chose to follow Autumn, and as we traveled east, we found plenty of technologies that would aid us in our conquest of the capital. When we finally arrived at Raven Rock, a massive subterranean bunker filled with manufacturing facilities and supplies that could last us for years, we started constructing robots to aid in our now greatly diminished manpower. It would also be this time that we heard the news. Navarro had been completely destroyed by the NCR. Most of us had friends and family still on the base, and morale took a big hit for the months that followed. But in the end, we found resolve that we would have our revenge. Autumn Sr. soon was succeeded by his son, Colonel Augustus Autumn, a respected officer in his own right. Strangely, the president had never shown his face in person and only spoke to us, either through robots or Colonel Autumn. Needless to say, few of us regarded him particularly highly. By 2277, we had begun to set our plans for the capital in motion. When Project Purity, a functional water treatment facility located within the Jefferson Memorial, was activated, we moved in to secure the plant under orders from Colonel Autumn. We managed to capture a number of scientists that were working on the plant and set up a secure perimeter around the memorial. Our plans were put on hold, however, due to the actions of the lead scientist, who killed himself, damaging the facility and flooding its control room with deadly radiation, almost murdering the colonel. The captured scientists, however, were of great aid in repairing the facility. They revealed that in order to fully restore the purifier, we would need a GEC, something not found in abundance. We would use our databanks to locate one of the few vaults in the region that had a GEC. Colonel Autumn and a small team entered the vault and intercepted the son of the lead scientist. The child had managed to fight his way through the vault filled with the green mutants, and managed to secure the GEC even before our arrival. We knocked out the child and brought him back to Raven Rock. Not but a few hours after the child's arrival, the president himself ordered the entire base to stand down and let the boy pass. With shock and confusion we listened, until Colonel Autumn told us otherwise. We now saw what was so obvious. The president had gone mad and needed to be removed. The large number of robots in the facility controlled by the ex-president posed a serious threat, and it would take too long to clear out. The boy managed to fight his way out of the facility and escape into the wasteland. We regrouped our forces and moved into to reinforce the purifier from the inevitable Brotherhood counterattack. The Brotherhood had been the only faction capable of putting up any form of resistance to our soldiers, mostly due to their power armor and far better training than the average wastelander. We did not expect, however, the massive death robot the Brotherhood had repaired. The monster walked its way through our lines like they weren't even there. None of our weapons had any effect or even faced the steel behemoth. When it tore down the energy shield we had placed around the memorial, we started to retreat. Most of the other units stationed there followed our lead as we made our escape. As for the colonel, who was last seen in the control room, there was no word, and his fate was never found out. For the second time, our forces had been decimated, and not long after the battle, the Brotherhood located and attacked Raven Rock, and completely destroyed the base. Most of our personnel had evacuated and relocated to Adams Air Force Base. We finally managed to repair the mobile crawler base's satellite connection, and the numerous missiles stored in orbit would finally come to use. We used a small pre-war satellite relay station, where we could finally have some small amount of revenge. Knowing the Brotherhood would simply storm the facility with their massive robot, we used a token force to lure them into the canyon, with little chance of evading the missile strike. With their primary advantage removed, we moved several elite formations into the capital region to secure vital locations. We missed one key factor, however. A single Brotherhood soldier managed to evade our patrols and formations and secure several key technologies needed by the Brotherhood of Steel to regain the advantage. The same soldier also infiltrated Adams Air Force Base and retargeted the mobile crawler to fire the missiles at itself. After the missiles obliterated the base, I and 25 others collected what we could from the ruins and set out on foot to the north, hoping to escape the Brotherhood onslaught. Most of us did not survive the journey north, and the others chose to strike out on their own. Slowly, over the course of 2 years, it was me and me alone, wandering a broken world that does not look favorably upon the children of the old world. And there we are. Fucking hell, that took way too long to make, as always. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. I tried to do some new things with the machinima, the art. And the script as well is more of a first person. It is a first person perspective rather than the traditional ambiguous person reading it. Yeah, let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this more than you liked the old stuff, and yeah, leave a like, comment, favorite, subscribe, all that shit. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.